Well, there you have it. There is actually a difference. Hello guys, it's Unders. I hope the day is finding you well. So we're going to dive into a part 2 of bouncing down in logic. Now in the previous video we bounced out offline, real-time and real-time second bounce and found that all three were different to some degree, although audibly not massively different. So we're going to take that a little bit further and see if two versions of each one will cancel each other out as well, just to see if there's a discrepancy per bounce, regardless of what you're doing. Now, there's a couple of situations and certain things that might cause there to be like small variances. So I've just taken this project that I'm working on now and just looking to finish up, which is just this.
Hold up, don't get lost in the sauce. Jedi mind tricks, don't get lost in the force. Hungry for the money, free course meal. I send my name for the bill, and I'ma pay that, always keep it real. I'm independent, I don't need no deal. I'm Jaws.
Cool, so just like a UK garage vibe thing going on, and we're just mixing that down now and getting it to a point I'm happy with it. But in terms of plugins that would be different every single time, the only one on here that I really think could do that is going to be the J37 tape. And now it shouldn't be a massive difference, but what we're going to do is disable it just in case. And then I'm going to do another 2 runs because I've got infinite time apparently with the J37 on, and then see if that is, a plugin discrepancy is the reason that the bounces are slightly different. I'm only going to do that for the offline because I don't have time to be bouncing everything out and doing second bounces with various versions, but we're just going to dig into that a little bit. So let's get into it. First things first, with the J37 disabled, 2 offline bounces. As well, I'm only going to bounce this little like 16 bar section rather than doing the whole track to try and save some time for myself today. So we're just going to use that little chunk there. So let's do 2 offline bounces, and what I'll do, I'll bounce everything, capture it so you can see what I'm doing, speed it up, and then we'll open another project with all those bounced audio files named so we can check them out. We'll do everything 16-bit 44.1 because it's standard. We're going to be offline. We don't want any normalization. And that should be all good. And we'll drop everything on the desktop. Sweet, so we've done the 2 offline bounces. We're going to enable the J37 now, and we'll do another 2 offline. Disable the J37 again, and now we're going to do 2 real times as well. I'm not going to do second cycle pass, I do not have time.
Hold up, don't get lost in the sauce. Jedi mind tricks, don't get lost in the force. Hungry for the money, free course meal. I send my name for the bill, and I'ma pay that, always keep it real. I'm independent, I don't need no deal. I'm Jaws on the beat, I got a flow that kills. Do my thing with a few G's, Lauren Hill. I'm always on the grind looking for success. I wanna live good, no, nothing less. So say my name, say my name, say my name. I say it as many times until it's in your brain. Imprinted, blink 3 times and you miss it. Keep up with your boy, life is a choice, you better choose the right one. She wanna say my name with the lights off. Say my name out loud.
Cool, and round 2. Cool, so that's our bounces. What we'll do now is just kill this project and grab a fresh one and get those bits of audio in. We will do that like magic. See, like magic. So, let's just make sure these are in a sensible order. Let's just get the utility plugin on everything relevant. Let's get the mix up when we do that. So I always call it the utility plugin. It's actually the gain plugin. I think it might have been called utility back in Pro Tools, but it's what we use to invert the phase either way. So we want to invert that one. We want to invert that one. And we want to invert that one. Sweet. So first things first, offline bounce 1 and 2 with the J37 off, do they cancel out? Well, there you have it. There is actually a difference even between two offline bounces of exactly the same thing done one after the other, with the only plugin I thought that was going to cause any kind of discrepancy is turned on. So yeah, I mean, something like the J37 is definitely causing that for us. Let's test out the one where the J37 was off and see if that is in fact the case. And notice they look far similar than when we did it last time as well. Well, there you go. So even the offline one with the J37 turned off, which was the only plugin that gives any kind of like phase issues, like randomly, if you will, we've still got pretty much the same thing going on, the same amount of difference. Interesting how the Piz strings seem to have survived in both iterations. They're different each time, so it's quite possible that that instrument's using round robin, so it's actually triggering different samples per take. That could completely be the case that of why that's surviving. So yeah, we'd have to maybe do a round robin reset or remember to do that on every single plugin that requires it. However, I'm pretty sure they should round robin reset when you re-trigger the project. So that's an interesting thing. But I think that's the only way that that could have completely survived. You notice like the vocals and bits are completely gone. I don't know, we've got a bit of the bass in there. Not sure why that is. Perhaps that bass instrument, I think I made it in massive. I can't really remember without going back in the project now. Maybe that's slightly different each time it's triggering. As well, we're getting the reverbs. They are going to be very slightly different. It's part of how the reverb algorithm works. So it seems like we're getting the round robin samples that are triggering different samples. Reverb that's going to vary regardless because it's effectively random. It's never going to repeat exactly the same. Yeah, and for some reason, some of the bass, possibly because I'm using like I forget what it's called, a massive like the expander or whatever the hell that is that gives it like a bit of space up on the top end. Perhaps that's causing that for us. So certain effects and processes seem to be the only things surviving. Like notice the vocals and the main parts of the song are completely gone. I mean, if we just drop one out while we're playing this loop.
Their mind tricks don't get lost in the force. Hungry for the money, free course meal. I send my name for the bill.
It does mean these particular sounds are different on every single bounce, offline or not. Let's just see if, I mean, real time, I'd expect this to actually, I don't want to say worse because it doesn't tend to be actually be a problem, but have an idea. Yeah, there's a lot more sub in this straight away. And the strings have completely survived. That must be the round robin samples.
Boy, life is a choice, you better choose the right one. She wanna say my name when the lights off. Hold up, don't get lost in the sauce. Jedi.
Now, what is kind of confusing, if we're getting like the clap reverb and like bits of the bass and things coming through, but none of the reverb from the vocal, that is completely cancelling itself out, which is kind of odd. But there you have it. Let's just try the second bounce with these two, with the J37 off. Just out of curiosity to see, we've taken the J37 out, which is going to give some kind of like phase discrepancies and whatnot across the track. Let's decide to emulate tape. Let's just see if these maybe cancel out anywhere similar or further apart. Yeah, pretty much the same parts surviving. Let's see if the Ps survived again. Okay. So the Ps is cancelling a little bit more now. So perhaps it's going through that cycle of triggering the same samples in some cases here. Well, what I'm taking from that is I now need to bounce multiple versions of my track every single time and then listen to the same version and decide which one gives me the most positive feeling, because they're all very, very similar. But if one in particular feels better than the other, that's what we're going to have to roll with. I'm genuinely surprised. I thought the two offlines would cancel each other out, but hey, that's what this experiment was for. We have learnt something, and I hope you guys learnt something too. Thank you very much for subscribing. Again, if you've got questions and ideas like this, throw them in the comments or in the forum, whatnot, on Facebook, and I'll see what I can do. I'm very intrigued. See you soon.